You're live on GBC News and GTV. It's time for news. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Siyoko Kwakucha. Welcome to the news. Zip lines, 5th and 6th national sites have been formally opened in Ghana. Zip line is the world's largest drone medical supply operation in the country. The two sites located at Enum in the eastern region and Ketikrachi in the Otip region are expected to serve health facilities within the Afram Plains and other hard-to-reach communities in the Volta region, Eastern, Oti and Savannah regions. When he formally opened these two sites, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, described as unfortunate the unhealthy criticisms that meet the government's interventions, especially in the health sector.
The government's decision to adopt a revolutionary drone service to deliver on demand emergency medical commodities has not only made Ghana the host to the biggest medical drone delivery system on Africa's continent, but has also significantly improved access to basic emergency medical commodities by health facilities. The decision has thus been christened Fly to Save a Life project. The coming on board of Enum site in the eastern region and the Ketikrachi site in the Oti region brings to 6 the total number of distribution sites across the country. The country manager of Zipline Ghana, Ms. Na Odokoyosin, said Zipline has served over 2,300 health facilities in 147 districts in 13 regions. She says the company will later this year begin home delivery services to make access to essential medications even easier.
Our innovation has seen our service reach nearly 1 million people out of the reach of cities with the COVID vaccines. Your Excellency, it is interesting to note that since we started our operations from these two centers in December, we have already delivered close to 200,000 units of critical medical products from Enum and Ketikrachi sites.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, says since Zipline started its drone deliveries in some parts of the country, the challenges of traveling for vaccine inoculation and the delay in vaccine delivery, especially during the peak of COVID-19, have been resolved.
In addition to the 1 million COVID vaccines, Zipline has delivered 4 million routine vaccines to all many parts of the country. Ghana, our own Ghana, amazingly has the largest medical drone delivery service in the world. Beyond the immediate benefits of drone delivery of vaccines and essential medical products to recipients, it is the improvement in the management and distribution of medical supplies from the various central storage facilities that is also important.
The Vice President said the health sector remains an essential part of shaping the country's economic growth. He was not happy with the unhealthy criticisms that meet government interventions, especially in the health sector.
Never again should we be seen allowing ourselves to be divided by politics when discussing the health of our people.
Zipline's other sites are located at Omanako in the eastern region, Mpenya in the Ashanti region, Seshwioso in the western region, and Vopsi near Walewale in the northeast region, thus ensuring national coverage.
The Minister for Information, Kojompon Nkrumah, has revealed that all 16 flagship programs of the government will soon be reviewed to ensure their objectives are well achieved. According to him, it is one of the decisions taken during the 3-day cabinet retreat at the Pediasi Lodge in the Eastern region to mitigate the economic difficulties in the country. Currently, the country is experiencing hikes in fuel prices and the growing depreciation of the cedi adversely affecting the cost of goods and services. But Mr. Nkrumah says the review of the programs, among others, will help the government take some expenditure cuts. The Ghana Borehole Drillers Association is calling on the government to address the high fees charged by foreigners who operate the rig machine. According to them, even though there is an increment in fuel prices, the rig fees charged by these rig operators is too high. I must apologize for that. Last week, the chief executive of the Mental Health Authority refuted media reports that government had sold the Accra Psychiatric Hospital to some private investors. The report said foreign investors will take over the facility by June this year. The Minister for Health, Mr. Kweku Ajiman-Menu, further explained that the hospital was to be redeveloped into a new 230-bed psychiatric hospital under the Agenda 111, and the tenders received are being evaluated. My colleague Sarah Ofori sat through a media briefing organized by the Accra Psychiatric Hospital this morning and joins me in the studio to give us an update of what happened. Good afternoon, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
On News Hour. Can you tell me the highlights of the news briefing this morning?
Okay, so it was virtually to give more credence to what we've been told by the minister and also the chief executive of the Mental Health Authority, that indeed the Accra Psychiatric Hospital is not being sold, but rather is being redeveloped under the government's Agenda 111. So this morning, the chief executive, the director for the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, took us through the plan that they have decided on to ensure that whilst they are still caring for patients, the redevelopment is also being done. So first of all, they are going to shift their services to a part of the land which is currently bare now. So they are going to just have a makeshift structure to attend to patients, while the entire the facility that we know to be the Accra Psychiatric Hospital will be raised down or demolished entirely, and then they'll build a new 230-bed facility. So it's not going to be like they are going to probably close down or shut down the place entirely, but they'll be running services. So they are going to also reduce their staff. They are going to, I mean, it's a 600-bed facility as it is now, but currently operating at a 320-bed facility. And out of the 320, we are told that 200 are like vagrant, mentally ill patients. Some have recovered, but because they were picked up on the streets, they have nowhere to go. So those would be probably redistributed or repatriated to other mental health facilities. While the 120, some would also be reintegrated into the communities or sent back to their families, so that it would lighten up the place for services to continue whilst the redevelopment is taking place. So they just want to cut down on the inmates and also the staff. They've also told the staff, they've engaged the staff since last year, that because of the redevelopment, they've had to also cut down the number of inpatients. So it will be proper to probably be reassigned into the community. I mean, the agenda of the Mental Health Authority is to take mental health care into our communities, whereby like you could find mental health services at the CHIPS compound, any primary health or secondary health facility through to tertiary. So every hospital you go throughout the country should have a psychiatric wing to attend to patients, so that they wouldn't all have to come down to the 3 psychiatric hospitals we have in the south. And so they are being re-engaged. They've collaborated with the ministry, the Ghana Health Service, the Christian Health Association of Ghana, to re-engage these staff. Currently they are about 800, but now they are going to be cut down to 500. So 300 will be distributed across, I mean, they'll be re-engaged across facilities in the country. Another part...
Is that facilities with psychiatric care?
I mean that's the plan, is to decentralize psychiatric care in the country. It's all part of the Mental Health Act that was passed, that they're going to establish a mental health levy and also make 10 de-institutionalized mental health care, meaning that they wouldn't be coming, they wouldn't be stay over long or as inmates in the Accra Psychiatric Hospital or any other psychiatric facility we have, but rather they can access mental health care at their doorstep, where there's a CHIP zone or there's a hospital or a clinic. All these facilities that are government owned would have psychiatric wings to attend to these patients. So let me talk about the new facility they are going to build. So as you said earlier, it's a 230-bed facility. Mind you, people are wondering why they are reducing the number of beds, because what we have now is about 600 beds. So now why are they reducing it? It goes to explain that because they want to now make mental health care, community health, mental health care thing, it will be good enough to have just a number, just reduce it so that Accra would be for specialist care. You don't need to travel all the way from wherever you are in the country to come and access mental health care. It's only when it requires specialist care. And for that reason, when patients come in, they will be given care within a week and probably discharged and go. It will be like the normal hospital you walk through when you are ill, unless it's something severe that you have to be detained. It's just going to be treated and discharged, and then you go back home. So this facility would have a lot of services attached to it. Like it's going to have supporting services like imaging, MRI imaging. It's also going to have private suites where, let's say, if you're a doctor from Navrongo or something, and you want to refer your patients to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, that's the new facility. There'll be private suites where patients who can afford would go and lodge with their families, would be more convenient. I mean, we have the VIP wing doing that, but it's a very small facility if you check the Accra Psychiatric Hospital as it is now. So they are going to have it, and these are also ways to generate some funds to sustain or maintain the new facility that would be built up.
Okay then, Sarah, thank you so much for this update. And then we're looking for the longer version of this story, and it will be aired in our subsequent bulletins. You're still watching News Are coming to you live on GBC News and GTV. A statement issued by the Information Ministry hinted of a possible reopening of the country's land borders this week. According to the statement, it is one of the decisions taken during the three-day cabinet retreat at the Pediasi Lodge in the eastern region to mitigate the economic difficulties in the country. President Akufo-Addo announced the closure of the country's borders from Sunday, March 22, to limit the spread of coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak in the country. GBC's News' Bono East correspondent Samuel Ayama joins us on the phone lines as we broaden the discussion on the reopening of the borders. Good afternoon, Samuel. And thank you very much for joining us on News. Sami, Techiman is a major transit point for persons or traders who enter the country through the northern corridor. How has the border closure affected business?
Yeah, thank you very much. It has seriously affected businesses here in the Techiman, the Bono East capital, and that of the Kintampo, or the center of Ghana, because this has been a transit point where those from the north, those from the south, they normally pass through this place to either Burkina Faso or Togo. That is through Pomakom, Kulungungu, Paga, Namor, and then Moknori. So it became a big challenge for the people who normally go to these countries to transact business with them. So a lot of them rely on these businesses for their livelihood. So if government is trying to open the borders, I'm sure it will be a big sigh of relief for the people who are into business or who normally go to Togo or Burkina Faso to do business with them.
Are there any measures in place to ensure that the country does not find herself deep in the woods again when the borders are reopened?
I'm sure there were measures already, because when you go to the borders, one thing that I realized or observed was that the security officials there, they have the thermometer where they check the temperatures of everybody who is to cross or come in, because it was not closed down to goods and services. Those who go in there for goods, they were allowed to come in. So when they get to the border, they screen them and they make sure they don't carry the virus into the country or can't go to either Burkina Faso or Togo. The same thing was happening at that end too. So I believe that there is enough measures that will be put in place, or they will add more measures to make sure that we don't increase the number of coronavirus we have at hand, because it is also going to be a huge sign of relief for the security officials at the borders, because what I observed was that when we go there in our interactions, they normally say they don't have enough means of transport, and again, they don't have fuel to do effective patrols, and there are a lot of unapproved routes, especially during this dry season in the up north. Everywhere you pass is just a path that you can go. So we're having a lot of issues to deal with. So with this opening of the borders, I'm sure it will help the security there, because now those who used to use the unapproved routes to the Togo or Burkina Faso, they will use the approved routes, and they will also be able to check them well and know that everything is under control, just to prevent the infection of the coronavirus.
So, Sami, the announcement is just about a possible reopening of the country's land borders. So still the borders are closed, is it?
Come against your call.
I'm asking whether the borders are still closed, because it's just, the announcement was just a possible reopening of the country's land borders from where you are.
Yes, on paper it is closed. But when you visit that place, you don't understand what is happening, because there are some residents that the security officials normally describe them as border residents. You will see a lot of people going in and coming out, and when you you ask the security officials, they tell you these are border residents, so that's why they're allowed to go and come and transact their business. So the border town, when you visit, it's still a busy place, especially at the Parker border. When you visit there, it's a busy place, but the border residents are there, but the security officials keep telling us that these people are not to be restricted. They are not to ask not to go in or come in. So these people are still going around doing their business, but they allow goods to come in, or we also carry goods to the other end of the country. So I'm sure the move is going to help seriously.
So finally, have there been reports of arrest of persons who came into the country using unapproved routes?
Yes. In the Bono East region, somewhere in January, some arrests were made. The immigration arrested some foreigners, and then they were sent back to their various countries. Some were from Niger, some were also from Togo, some Benin and Burkina Faso. So they sent them back to their various countries, and they are since making sure that they intensify their patrols and also check the routes they normally use in coming into these regions, that is the Bono East region, before they now move into either Kumasi or any part of the country.
All right, thank you, Sammy, for that update. Residents of Tomefa near English Manfrom in the Greater Accra region are in dire need of potable water. According to the residents, the only source of water for the community is the Densu River. Speaking to GBC News, the chief of Tomefa, Mr. Plesedoche, said the community has been deprived of potable water for long.
The Densu River is one of the major sources of water supply by the Ghana Water Company to some communities within the Greater Accra region. Farming activities and constant pollution along the river bank makes the water unwholesome for human consumption. Tomefa is one of the communities close to the Densu Basin. The main occupation of the people is fishing. The fast-growing community has a population of over 1,000. Access to potable water is a major challenge in the community. A resident, Andrew Stetekete, said skin infections, diarrhea and typhoid are very common sickness in the community.
You can see from the river now that the surface of the river has changed green color. This is not how it is all the time. If those days it comes like that, sometimes we treat it with iron before we use it for cooking or we bath.
Issues of water mostly affect women and children. According to the SDG 6, water should be accessible to all, but in the case of Tomefa community, the women and children are vulnerable. A resident, Cynthia Bolofo, said the lack of pipe-borne water in the community is really affecting their daily lives. She explained that their children are compelled to go to the riverside to fetch water, which makes them late for school. Madam Bolofo said when the women get exhausted from fetching the water from the river, they contract tricycle operators to assist at a fee. She called on Ghana Water Company Limited to provide potable water for them. The chief of the area, Mr. Plesedoche, mentioned that the Ghana Water Company came to the community to promise them potable water. However, 10 years after the promise, no pipelines have been laid to show the company's commitment. Meanwhile, the station manager at the Wager Water Treatment Plant, Mr. Augustine Atigbiri, has attributed the pollution of the Densu River to chemicals used by some fishermen in fishing.
If massive education is done on the people living around the dam, those encroaching the green belts, and those who stay and farm closely to the lake, and also carrying out fishing activities there, to stop the unauthorized fishing activities, farming on the buffer zones, developing the buffer zones, and destroying the green around the buffer zones, which encourages the dam to stay and live long. So if this is done, we will not have high pollution, the water will become clear, and we spend less in carrying out the water treatment.
He said money that could have been used for expansion work to supply water to other areas is channeled to water treatment. He added that efforts are being made to ensure the people have potable water.
Today, the world is zoning in on the importance of water as it celebrates World Water Day. The UN explains clean water is a basic human need that should be easily accessible to all, as there is sufficient fresh water on the planet. However, millions die every year from diseases associated with inadequate water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. At Bosotri near Buti in the Yilokrobo district of the Eastern region, residents have no worries at all in getting access to water. Nature has provided them with an abundance of water, and the best is that it is free. Life on Earth cannot survive without water. It is a precious natural resource. Fresh water is necessary for the survival of all living organisms on Earth. Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, and we cannot survive more than a few days without it. Water is also an integral part of many ecosystems that support us and a myriad of other species. The sixth goal of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, established by the United Nations General Assembly, is to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. However, on the official website of the United Nations, around 2.2 billion people live without access to safe water around the world. In the mountainous areas of the eastern region is an abundance of fresh water from mountains, streams, and other unknown sources. Here at Bosotri near Buti, the news team noticed the source of water, which looks like a spring. The water in here looks so clean and a great sight to behold, with its wells and tanks just like a turbine churning water. For residents here, it is their source of drinking water and everyday use, as it never dries up. They cherish this water source and have named it Bosochido, literally meaning the love of Bosochi. Indeed, this is a treasure, as water, they say, gives life. Groundwater is invisible, but its impact is visible everywhere. Out of sight, under our feet, groundwater is a hidden treasure that enriches our lives. Almost all of the liquid fresh water in the world is groundwater. The Ghana Water Company says illegal mining activities is polluting over 60% of the country's waters. Widespread use of plastic drinking water sachets due to lack of available potable water has also led to increased plastic pollution, often polluting water bodies. The lack of clean drinking water and sanitation systems is a severe public health concern in Ghana, contributing to 70% of diseases in Ghana. As Ghana climaxes the celebration of World Water Day, we have on the phone line Dr. Yvonne Lowe, the senior lecturer at the Department of Earth Science, University of Ghana. Access to safe drinking water, especially for the rural dwellers. Hello, good afternoon, madam, and thank you so much for joining us on News Hour.
Good afternoon, madam.
Yeah, in terms of percentage, what is Ghana's access to safe drinking water?
Yeah, in terms of percentage, I would say that groundwater access in this country is largely in the rural areas. About 95% of coverage is in the rural areas. And in Accra, it's now catching up with us because we have polluted our surface water resources coupled with climate change, longer dry seasons, and of course, short rainfall. And so now people are drinking boreholes in Accra and other urban centers. And that roughly is about 5%.
So there are reports, especially media reports, of people in the rural areas sharing their source of drinking water with livestock. Can you tell us what the country's strategy is in getting potable water to these areas?
Yes, groundwater access, fortunately in Ghana, is everywhere. It's not too difficult to get groundwater country. So for a country, and in most developed countries, they depend heavily on groundwater, not only for domestic use, but also industrial and agricultural. So government can, in fact, call on professionals to provide groundwater for these communities, so they can have access to good quality water. And of course, with that, we are sure that we have a healthy society, rather than sharing the polluted surface water with animals.
So now let's talk about the country's policy on drilling of water, what we call borehole, as this year's theme on World Water Day is focusing on groundwater. May we know the country's policy on groundwater or drilling of groundwater?
Yes, the country has regulations for exploring and, of course, use of groundwater. It is legislated LI 1827, regulates that industry, that everyone who wants to drill a borehole must be licensed. So we have the driller's license, and anyone who contracts any driller must make sure that that driller has license. And after that, every data that is collected must be sent to Water Resources Commission. And with that, we are sure that if you use the professional, we are sure that you do the right things for us. Particularly protect your borehole from contamination. Right now, we have people doing boreholes without using professionals. Anyone who has a drilling rig just goes to fill your borehole. Probably it's in close proximity with a neighbor's sockaway. So you'll be pumping your water and be pumping fecal matter into your groundwater, and you end up polluting your groundwater. So this license regime has been there since 2010, over a decade. And I think it's time for everyone to know that this is a precious resource that can also be polluted, that would need to take care of them. And like any other resource that is taken from the earth, gold, bauxite, anything is regulated. Water is also regulated. The groundwater is also regulated. And it's not anyone and everyone who does fall into that industry to extract it. If you do that, it is illegal, and you find yourself on the wrong side of the laws of the country.
Well, I'm afraid, Doc,
so every driller and every user must ensure that the right things are done.
Doc, that will be it for now. Thank you so much for talking it to us. You're still live on GBC News and GTV. This is News Hour. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with a business segment. Please stay on.
It is a nightmare dealing with the filth in Accra. The gutters are choked with garbage.
The streets are a jumble of filth. The beauty of the serene beaches is marred with human feces and plastics as many defecate in the open. Residents are up in arms when the situation gets out of hand.
Because of these litters, you can't even stand there for even a minute. As we speak here, if the mosquitoes even refuse to breathe on it.
Partners in sanitation suggest alternative policy interventions.
Landfilling is not the way forward. We are recommending treatment facilities.
But in all of this, have we made gains in the sector?
How can you have a people who have a lot of dignity and still practicing open defecation?
The task facing Ghana to achieve SDG Goal 6 on clean water and sanitation for all is Herculean and riddled with equally complicated hurdles. Join us every Thursday on Wash Hour from 4:05 p.m. to 5 p.m. as we seek to put these issues and more in perspective. Watch a repeat on Fridays from 1 to 2 p.m. and on Sundays 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. It is our duty to keep our surroundings clean and free from disease.
It's time for business with me, Esther Edu Ohumeu. Nearly a month since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, the economic impact is being felt across the world. The war is likely to impact negatively on Ghana's external sector, particularly in the area of some key construction and agriculture commodities. The two industries will likely face supply disruptions and price volatility.
About 2.5% of Ghana's total non-oil imports originate from Russia and Ukraine, and around 0.4% of Ghana's total exports are destined to the war zone. The country's main imports from Russia are grains, wheat flour, and fertilizers. In 2021, about one-third of Ghana's grain imports came from Russia, according to the Bank of Ghana. The country's major imports from Ukraine are iron ore and steel, which accounts for more than half of Ghana's total iron ore and steel imports. While Ghana exports cocoa and cocoa products to Russia, it sells manganese to Ukraine. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, said the tension will affect trade between Ghana and the two partners.
The Russia-Ukraine war is likely to impact negatively on Ghana's external sector, particularly in the area of some key construction and agricultural commodities. The construction industry will likely face some challenges in terms of supply disruptions and prices of steel and iron ore imports.
Already, the Ghanaian economy is battling surging fuel prices, partly induced by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Western sanctions on Russia is likely to add more to the wounds.
The policy rate hike by the Bank of Ghana to 17% will have an impact on all sectors of the economy. Here among them is the SME, which is touted as the nerve center of the Ghanaian economy, with players within this space likely to find cost of credit expensive, thus denying them the chance to expand and engage more hands to reduce unemployment. On the line to discuss the impact of the increase in the policy rate on SMEs is an economist, Mr. Patrick Kwachi. Good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon.
So now there is the monetary policy has been increased to 17%. What will be the impact on SMEs?
Indeed, what implies is that, assuming they are going for loan from investor banks, their lending rate that the bank will give to them will increase. Meaning that if they came by, let's say, 100 Ghana cedis, and the bank is putting 10% on it, it's likely to increase to 15 or 20%. So thereby making funds that they receive from investor banks plus the interest to go up.
So Patrick, if I'm in the SME sector, what do you think I should do to stay afloat in my business?
Well, at this moment, the signal has come from the Monetary Policy Committee, which is part of Bank of Ghana. Indeed, if you are SME, what you need to do is that definitely you are going to transfer this cost to consumers. But again, the main idea, the main thing that the government ought to do to assist is to do what we call targeting assistance, which the government ought to assist in these people. Because in the long run, what's going to happen is that there's going to be more assistance that they need in order to curtail their profit, or they transfer this cost to consumers.
Assistance in the form of what?
Assistance in terms of probably assuming when we were in COVID, when we went to COVID-19, government did some targeting assistance by giving them loan and other things. But in these instances, the loan that the government will give out will not be commensurate to what the Universal Bank is giving them. As long as they've registered, they have their names, everything is known to the bank. What happens if it's 20 or 20.52%? The central bank, the Universal Bank can give to them as, let's say, 17 or 18 or 20% instead of the normal range.
Okay. So the war between Russia and Ukraine has also affected the import of wheat, iron and steel to Ghana. How has this affected consumers in Ghana?
Well, I must say that we didn't envisage as a country that this ought to happen. But again, Ghana imports most of the things all from Ukraine. What happened is that Ukraine will not be able to give what it ought to give to us anymore. Then, if there has been an arrangement with Ukraine already prior to the Ukraine-Russia war, it means that the country has to look somewhere else. Looking somewhere else implies that the cost or how we receive this import from Russia, it will go up high. Thereby, if we receive it from different countries, when it comes to the country, what happens is that the cost again increases because we were looking at Ukraine or Russia to give you something. Now you are making different arrangements with different countries. Where the terms and conditions is not set out, you are not going to get the same things as you used to get from Ukraine or Russia. Meaning that the cost implied in it will be higher than those you normally do business with.
All right. That'll be all for now. Mr. Patrick Kwachi, who is an economist, speaking on the policy rate at 17%. We'll take the interbank and commodity figures for the day. That's all for business. Thanks for watching.
Women whose stories teach